All right, it's week one. We're going through 20 off-the-radar college football games for week one, and we're going to pick them all against the spread. So let's go ahead and get to this. All right, let's go on and start it off because we're going to try and do this quickly. This is a YouTube-only thing. I might toss this one on the podcast, but we'll see. All right, so the games that I have not talked about on the BetUS College Football Show, which you can, of course, watch every Tuesday and Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time live, and there's a link in the description for that. We're going to talk about those all today. So we're going to go on and start this bad boy off right here, and we will start it off with Florida Atlantic going to Michigan State on Friday night. Michigan State currently a 13. So I'm going to read all of these off from the FD Sportsbook, but I'm going to give you the best number that is currently available as I am recording this right now. So we're going to do a better job with our record this year. But and it's got to be at a widely available book, just so you know. So let's go on and start it off here. Okay. Florida Atlantic heads to Michigan State on Friday night. Michigan State at FD is a 13.5-point favorite, currently total of 45.5. You look at the number that I have on my screen here. I've got Michigan State favored by 6.25 on this. The talent composite is not that far off. I like the roster that Tom Herman has, especially their starting 22. They don't have to worry about getting into their depth just yet. I wonder what it's going to be like for Jonathan Smith and company going into a brand new system, a lot of new faces. How can they make that thing gel? If you remember what Jonathan Smith did at Oregon State his very first season, it wasn't great, right? Aiden Childs is fantastic. He's a good quarterback. We haven't seen him do a whole lot yet, especially not as the number one guy. But I think 14's too many here. Absolutely think 14's too many here. And it's going to rain in East Lansing on Friday. I think it's too many different variables. I like Florida Atlantic, and the number that you can get right now is a plus 14. So I will take Florida Atlantic plus 14 in that one. I feel pretty good about it. All right, we move on, and let's get this switched. Western Michigan goes to Wisconsin. Current line is Wisconsin minus 23.5, total of 56.5. That is the most widely available number. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Western Michigan is number 15 in the country in adjusted returning production. They weren't great last year. You look at the success margin on the screen here. They were number 102 in the country in success margin, number 94 in PPA margin. Wisconsin was significantly better than that. Luke Fickell going into year two, significantly better talent. I've got him power rated way higher. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think that they're just going to empty the clip, right? Wisconsin has got some big games coming up. They're not going to do anything too crazy, and you still got to figure out, like, they named Tyler Van Dyke the starter. You got to figure out a few things here, maybe take it easy with him, rebuild some of that confidence. I don't expect them to just throw the ball all over the place, and I think Western Michigan can hang in the game for a little while, build some confidence themselves. The best number that you can get out there right now is Western Michigan plus 24.5. No, I don't like Walt Bell as their offensive coordinator. We've talked about this, but that's okay, because I think that they can still hang around in this one. Give me Western Michigan plus 24.5. That is the best number that I could find on the books. We move to Saturday, and we're going to Nashville, where Vanderbilt is going to host Virginia Tech. Number out there right now, consensus, is Vanderbilt plus 13.5 at home, total of 48.5 on this one. It's going to rain in Nashville. It's going to be nasty. Everybody loves Virginia Tech. This thing has been steamed and sat there, and everybody loves Kyron Drones, etc. But don't forget, Clark Lee hired in Jerry Kill from New Mexico State. He's an analyst here, but analysts can now coach. That was an NCAA rule change that they came up with. And he brought in Diego Pavia and a bunch of the skill position guys from a 10-win New Mexico State team. Now, they are going to change up the offense at Vanderbilt. They are going to run some crazy stuff. I feel pretty good about Vanderbilt plus 13.5. That's the best number that you can get out there. My number on this is Virginia Tech -6. The talent profile between these two is not that much different. Vanderbilt actually has more blue chippers on their roster than Virginia Tech does. They don't have as much experience, but when you look at adjusted returning production, number 31 for Vanderbilt, number 4 for Virginia Tech. But again, talent goes the Vanderbilt way. Clark Lee heading into year 4 and Brent Pry heading into year 3. I don't think these two teams are 2 touchdowns off. I feel pretty good about Vanderbilt being able to put up some points, but also with their defense being able to slow down Kyron Drones. So go ahead and give me Vanderbilt plus the 13.5 on that one. Moving up to College Park, Maryland, a 20.5 point favorite at home over the UConn Huskies. Total is 44.5 on this one. And I will tell you, I like Maryland more and more. And even though my number on this is only Maryland -16.819, this number was at, 24 at one point, and it's been bet all the way down to 20.5. I found a 20 out there. There's actually a couple of them. For whatever reason, there's a lot of love on Jim Mora and the UConn Huskies. I think Maryland, still the significantly more talented team. I think this Maryland defense is legit. I mean, you look at what I've got them rated as far as their defensive rank, number 27 there, going up against the UConn offense that I've got ranked number 125. I don't know if UConn scores. So in that case, I don't think Maryland has to score a lot. The total, again, on this is 44.5. I'd probably go under, if only because I think that this game could end up something along the lines of 31-7, something like that. So, yeah, when this thing was 21-22, I didn't feel as good about it. But there are so many people on UConn right now. I'm going to take Maryland -20. That is the best number that we can get for that one. Let's keep on going. Game number 5, Kent State goes to Pitt. And Pitt, currently a 24.5 point favorite at home, total of 55.5. Yes, Pitt should dominate these guys. Kent State was terrible. But I think it is a new day. Eli Holstein is going to be the new starting quarterback for Pitt. I don't think they're going to show a whole lot in this game. I think Kent State will be able to put up at least a touchdown, maybe 10 points. And if they're able to do that, 24.5 feels like too much. Pitt has got Cincinnati next week. That's who they're going to be saving stuff for. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of the new offense that they've installed there in this game. You're going to get some reps. You're going to get some very vanilla calls. But give me Kent State. Kent State plus 24.5 is the best number that is out there if you're wanting to bet the Golden Flashes. That's who it is. Good gracious. So give me Kent State plus 24.5 on that. I think Pitt wins the game, but I think that Kent State can certainly stay within 24.5. So I feel okay about that. Don't forget, check out 3 Dog Thursday. Just did that just a little bit ago with my buddy TJ Reeves. It's right here on the YouTube channel. We have a good time. We only pick underdogs on the show. We do 3 each, and it's every single week. Now, I'm not necessarily on it every week, but TJ is. And I will hop on it most of the time. So I did today. I've started off the season with him 3 straight years, I believe. It's a good time, and we had a fantastic time. Oh, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. Would certainly appreciate that. But subscribe to the pod and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the like button if you would, and hit that notification bell. That would certainly help us out. If you want some bonus content, I give out picks, I give out stats, I give out projections, I give out bonus podcasts on bettingcfb.com. $5 for a month or $50 for the year, and we have a good time. We have a really, really good time. So yeah, and I do continue to do stuff in the off season. So I would recommend, if you want me unfiltered, uncensored, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and check that out. All right, carrying on, and we are moving ahead. Let's go to Columbus. Akron visiting Ohio State. And the number right now is 48.5 in favor of Ohio State. It has come down 2 points at most places. 58.5 is the total on this. This is a weird one, right? There's nothing on this sheet that you're seeing right over here. There's nothing there that would show you that Akron stands any kind of a chance in this game, right? I've got Ohio State with a 99.41% chance to win the game. Talent composite all over Ohio State. Power rating, returning production, everything leans Ohio State. But I am of the belief that the new quarterback, Ben Finley, can at least get a 7 on the board for Akron, even against this defense. And the reason for that is because I don't think that you were going to see these Ohio State starters for that long. They got some big games coming up relatively early in the year, week 4, week 5. I think Akron's going to at least try and get points on the board. If they do that, knowing how Chip Kelly runs his offense, etc., you see my number. It's Ohio State minus 38. If Chip Kelly is going to run the ball a lot, and they might just completely run over them and go for 100 yards every single time they run the ball. It might be that lopsided. But my bet is on they run clock, and this game gets over with in about 3 hours. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. If that is the case, 50.5 is too many points. Give me Akron plus the 50.5 on that one. All right. We carry it on. Let's go to Austin, Texas, where the Texas Longhorns are going to host the Colorado State Rams. And number right now is 31.5. Now, this thing was at 35.5 at one point, not that long ago. It has been steamed. It got sent out by a couple of different big groups. And at that point, yes, I totally understand it. 31.5, it went through that key of 32. 35.5 went through the key number of 35, right? So Texas has to go to Michigan next week. The backup quarterback for Texas, of course, is Arch Manning. Arch is going to play in this game, and he's going to be fantastic. It's going to be good stuff. They're not going to fully shut everything down. They're going to want to see what they got. But also, they got to work in some running backs. Remember, 2 of their running backs are out with injuries for the season. And if that is the case, yeah, they might be in trouble. So they're going to want to get some running backs, some reps. If that is what they're going to do against Colorado State, which they should be able to run on Colorado State, even with like a third-string guy. If they do that, I'm going to take Colorado State. I think it'll be a shorter game. Colorado State can put up points, especially on a new-look Texas defense. No, the talent composite doesn't say that you'll get there. But you look at the plays per game, Colorado State likes to go fast. Texas, normally relatively fast, but I'm not expecting a whole lot there. So I think we're going to see a lot of running the ball, building up these guys, getting them some reps so that they have some experience before they go to Michigan next week. Give me, the best number I got out there was Colorado State plus 33.5. So I will take that. 33.5. Give me the Rams. I'm feeling good about it. Let's go to Bloomington. Bloomington, Indiana. And the Hoosiers are going to host FIU on Saturday. Indiana, a 21.5 point favorite, total of 51.5. My number on this is actually closer to Indiana by 12. And I've gone back and forth on this one. But Mike McIntyre can coach. He's in year 3 at FIU. No, they don't have great talent. Not in the slightest. And Kurt Cignetti is an absolute dog. They beat people to death. But I don't think you're going to see that in game number 1. I think there's going to be some gelling. There's going to be some figuring things out. I think that Cignetti and company are going to play stuff a little close to the vest. They got UCLA coming up really soon. Don't waste it all on FIU, a team that you can handle pretty easily. And the fact that this is through the key number of 21, I'm going to roll with FIU. We're betting a lot of dogs in week 1. But FIU plus 21.5 seems like the right move to me. So I'm going to feel pretty good about that. I think that we got a spot here in a couple of different spots because you do have some pretty big early season games. Indiana's going to want that UCLA game a lot more than this one. I'll take FIU plus the 21.5. For whatever reason this year, my numbers love these G5 teams. Absolutely love them. And I have not been able to figure that out. I haven't found nearly the advantage that I thought that I was going to with some of these. Okay. Let's go to Massachusetts. UMass is hosting Eastern Michigan. And UMass currently a 2.5-point favorite. Now, this sat at 3 for a while earlier this week, but you had Tunes and you had Raz come out and go back and forth and blah, blah, blah. But Elliott, I think, gave out Eastern Michigan. Look, if you've watched me for any amount of time, because we've been doing the show since 2016, we've been doing the YouTube version since 2018. If you have been watching for any amount of time, you know how much I love Chris Creighton and what he does with Eastern Michigan. Ypsilanti is impossible to recruit to. You cannot get dudes there. Yes, UMass has way more talent. Number 82 in talent composite because Don Brown has been bringing in some P4 transfers. I get it. But Eastern Michigan, yes, their numbers are bad, et cetera, but their defense is a pack of wild, vicious dogs. They will fight you in the street before the ballgame. That is the kind of team that they've got, and I freaking love it. So there is no chance that you were ever going to get me to pick against Eastern Michigan, especially as a road dog where Chris Creighton has been fantastic. So the total is 49.5 on this. Massachusetts, UMass, favored by 2.5. I'm going to take Eastern Michigan plus the 2.5 on the road because I like the coach. That's really about it. My number on this is just about a pick 'em, but I still feel good. I still feel good about it. All right. Game number 10. That's right. Game number 10. Syracuse, a 17.5-point home favorite over Ohio. The Bobcats have won 20 games in the last 2 years. They are fantastic, but they are number 125 in adjusted returning production, and they brought up a bunch of FCS dudes and Division II guys and whatnot, and they're trying something different. They were number 12 in success margin last year, number 23 in PPA margin, that's predicted points added. They were not explosive. They ran very few plays per game. Fran Brown really upped the talent here. You bring in Kyle McCord, they've got a bunch of new transfers in, a bunch of weapons for him. I think the line of scrimmage is going to be a drastic difference here. This number was at 14.5 or 14 over the summer. It might have been 13, but it was 13. It was 13 when it opened. It's been all Syracuse money, and I'm going to keep siding on that. I don't think Ohio is going to be good this year. I think Syracuse is going to. I think they're going to be a lot better. They're not going to be some fantastic team. I mean, you see, I've got them power rated number 65, but I've got Ohio number 110. So while my number on this, for whatever reason, is only Syracuse by 9, I'm not going to trust the number. And if you continue to watch these through the year, you're going to understand that we don't always side with the number. And so I don't like Ohio this year. I'm going to side with Syracuse. I think they got Georgia Tech next week, but I don't think that they're going to have to do a whole lot to get to the 17.5 number. 21-3, 28-10, whatever gets us to cover the 17.5. I'll take that. Give me Syracuse minus 17.5 on that. All right. Write down our times. Let me tell you about Ticket Smarter. That's right. Tickets are always expensive, especially for the games this weekend. There's some huge games. Notre Dame, Texas A&M, LSU, USC, and Vegas. But after that, you got Texas, Michigan next week. You got Alabama, Wisconsin in week 3. You go to week 4, week 5. Week 5, you got Bama, Georgia. Like, these games are expensive to get into. Do yourself a favor. If you're going to buy the tickets anyway, save some money. It's a trusted third-party source here with Ticket Smarter. Ticketsmarter.com is where you want to go. And you can use promo codes. WCE10, that's WCE10, is going to get you $10 off an order of $100 or more. Or WCE20, that's WCE20, that's going to get you $20 off an order of $300 or more. If you're in Memphis and you want to go see Justin Timberlake later on in the fall, in November or whenever it is, yeah, save some money. You want to go to one of these football games? Save some money. And you can do it every single time. This is not a one-time sign-up bonus. You can use the promo code every single time that you buy tickets, so make sure you do that. I've bought tickets from them. It's been fantastic. No issues whatsoever. They are incredibly trustworthy, and their customer service is fantastic. So do yourself a favor. Think smarter with Ticketsmarter.com. Next up. Oh, reminder, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and go visit bettingcfb.com. There you go. There you go. Okay. We are continuing on, and I got to change that over. Boom. Northwestern in their brand new stadium hosting the Miami Redhawks. That's Miami of Ohio. Northwestern right now favored by 3.5. 39.5 is the total at, I guess you could say, the biggest sports book that's out there. The most widely accessible, the one that's got the biggest market share. Whatever. But that's just the baseline for what we're doing. Because remember, we are picking the best numbers. Northwestern, way better talent right now. We all saw what Miami of Ohio did last year. They won the MAC. They had a really awesome bowl game against App State. They bring back their quarterback, Gabbert, but they lost some other dudes too. They lost Amos, their running back. They lost Nicholson, their kicker, and their kicker was a big part of what they were doing last year. Miami of Ohio, really, really slow. Really slow. But if it's not a big number, that doesn't necessarily matter. Both of these teams, good on defense. Like, both of these teams, not great on offense. But Northwestern does have Zach Lujan coming in from South Dakota State. I don't know what to think about the Northwestern quarterback situation. You know, you got Helinski there. You bring in Mike Wright from Mississippi State, formerly of Vanderbilt. You remember him in that game against Hawaii in week 0 years and years ago where he ran for 4 billion yards. I think they might get kind of creative. And I think that Northwestern is going to be pumped up for their small stadium that holds like 15,000 right there on Lake Michigan. I am excited about this. Give me Northwestern. The best I could find was a 3 out there, and that's what I'm going to take. I already bet this at 2.5 yesterday, but I'll still take the 3 because I think Northwestern is just an overall better football team. Now, I do think that Northwestern likely to go under their win total, but I do like them in this spot. I think Miami of Ohio going to have some growing pains, if you will. So yes, give me Northwestern minus the 3 on that. Okay, we go down to Statesboro, Georgia. That's right. Georgia Southern is hosting Boise State, and the number is 12.5 right now in favor of Boise. This number was at 10, maybe 9.5 back a month ago, a couple of months ago, whatever it was. Total of 57.5 here. Georgia Southern named J.C. French the quarterback, and not a lot of experience there. Everybody assumed that it was going to be Dexter Williams, who transferred in from Indiana. Dexter Williams cannot throw the ball. Therefore, what Ryan Applin and Clay Helton are doing with the air raid, it would not have worked with him as the quarterback. So we didn't know if they were going to try and change the offense, et cetera, If you got a dude back there that can actually fling it a little bit, then Georgia Southern's going to be able to score some. I don't really trust the Boise State defense yet. They're number 2 in adjusted returning production, but I've got them number 45 in average defensive rank. I don't think that their defense is going to be able to completely shut down Georgia Southern. I think it might get kind of pointsy. And if it gets kind of pointsy, I feel like 12.5, 13 might be too much. So that's what I'm going to roll with. Georgia Southern plus 13 at home. It's going to be hot. I mean, it's going to be 95, walking into a wet blanket kind of hot. So is Boise super used to that? No. But also, we've seen them go down to Tallahassee and beat Florida State, or in Jacksonville, or wherever that was. I know that they've done this in the past, but Spencer Danielson, now the official head coach, Dirk Cutter in that offense, I think, are going to be moving. Maddox Madsen at quarterback. He was good in spots, but I do think that this is a relatively difficult game. You see my number on this is actually Boise minus 8.5. 13 feels like too much. 13 feels like too much. So I am going to take Georgia Southern plus the 13 there. All right, I'll try and speed this up so we can get through these relatively quickly. Old Dominion heads to South Carolina. South Carolina favored by 20.5, total of 52.5 on this. Now, there are some 21s out there, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Talent composite is a complete joke on this. Yet number 21 for South Carolina against number 128 for Ricky Ronnie and the Old Dominion Monarchs. I'm still going to ride with Old Dominion here to cover 21 on this. And the reason behind that, they both like to move up and down the field. South Carolina has a new quarterback in Lenore Sellers. They got some things to figure out with chemistry and whatnot with a bunch of new faces for South Carolina. It's the same thing with Old Dominion, but 21 points, I'm expecting a lot of running. I think it's a short ball game because South Carolina just wants to keep everybody healthy as they head into SEC play next week against Kentucky. Reminder, we're going to talk Kentucky in a minute. I think that Old Dominion can hang around in this game. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of special teams touchdowns, that kind of stuff that South Carolina was able to do against Georgia State a couple of years ago in order to get the cover because they had to block a punt to get the cover for me. I don't think you're going to see that this time. I think Old Dominion, I like Ricky Ronnie. I like what he's doing. They are explosive. They always find a way to generate some explosive plays that are going to get some points on the board. And if that's the case, that's perfect. Because if I've got plus 21 in my pocket, I'm going to feel all right. I think there's no chance that they win the game, but they always put a scare into people. They always play tight games. So give me Old Dominion plus 21 on that one. Only a minute 45 on that game. Not bad. North Texas goes to South Alabama. South Alabama currently a 6.5-point favorite. Consensus 64.5 is your total on this. Major Applewhite is the new head coach here for South Alabama. Of course, Kane Womack headed to Alabama as their co-defensive coordinator. South Alabama's numbers were significantly better than their record was last season. Not a lot of plays per game, but they were number 25 in success margin, number 20 in predicted points added margin, number 19 in explosive margin. You get it, but not a lot of returning production here. I still think with the continuity, I think you're going to see some good things out of South Alabama. Now, I'm not the biggest proponent for Major Applewhite, but also Eric Morris. I mean, neither one of these teams is bringing back a ton of returning production. Eric Morris wants to score. Major Applewhite wants to score. I think we're going to see some good things out of both of these teams, but this thing is in Mobile, and North Texas, I wonder what their quarterback situation is going to look like. I don't believe that Chandler Morris is going to start right off the bat. And if that's the case, yeah, I'm going to take South Alabama minus the 5. I like Gio Lopez. He is their new quarterback down there. Dude's a stud. Absolute stud. I expect big things. The best number I could find was actually 1.5 points off of the consensus. South Alabama minus 5 on this. And obviously you can go to Action Network or BetStamp or whatever and search for the best line. Make sure you shop. That's the smartest thing you can do. Shop your numbers. Shop your numbers. All right. Let's go to Tuscaloosa. Saturday night, Alabama favored by 31.5, total of 59.5 over Western Kentucky. The CUSA Darlings, as you can see, we got big red on the screen here. Feeling good with that old Alabama logo as well. And this one has bounced around quite a bit. It was 32.5. It got all the way down to 30 at one point. It's been bought back up, et cetera, da-da-da-da. Big talent difference. Again, I think that the coaches who are problem solvers are going to be able to... The problem-solving coaches are going to be able to do basically whatever they want to. Now, I don't think that Kalen DeBoer is going to use a lot of his gimmicks or any of that kind of stuff because I don't think he's going to have to. The line play for Alabama in this game is going to dwarf what you see from Western Kentucky. At the same time, Bama's got South Florida next week. They got Wisconsin the week after that. Vanilla game plan. But when you got a running back stable like Alabama does, I don't think the Western Kentucky defensive line is going to be able to stack up. It might get ugly. So if that is the case, And we have seen Kalen DeBoer put some points on teams before by just running the same play over and over and over. Basically, what he can do, or what he will do, I would assume, because I've seen him do it before, in a game like this, he will find a relatively easy play that the defense cannot stop, and he will go back to it over and over and over, and they will score, and they will score, and they will score. And that's what I think they're going to do here. So Alabama minus 31.5 on this. That was game number 15. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it. Make sure and visit bettingcfb.com. Of course, I feel like there's something else that I should be. Oh, I'm on X, by the way, at GaryWCE. If you got questions or you want to talk to me or you want me to do something on the show, you can do that at GaryWCE, or you can just email me if you're old school, Gary at winningcureseverything.com. It's so good to be back. So good to be talking about these games. All right, moving along. Let's go to Houston, where the Houston Cougars, are going to be hosting UNLV. UNLV, a 2.5-point dog on the road here. Total is sitting at 54.5. And Houston's got a ridiculous schedule. Absolutely ridiculous. This thing's under a field goal. Barry Odom, I like his team. Not high on the defense, although he does have a ton of upperclassmen that are starting for his defense, and it's the second year in their system. So that does feel pretty good. Same with Brennan Marion. They kept their offensive coordinator. That go-go offense is really, really fun, but they had to change over their quarterback and a few of their skill guys. They still got Ricky White, Matthew Savoca, FCS guy that came in. Can absolutely fling it. UNLV could be a lot of fun this year. However, I don't think that their defense is going to be able to stop Houston's offensive line and Donovan Smith. And if it's not Donovan Smith, it might be Zion Chris. You might see both of them in this game because I think both of them fit Willie Fritz. Well, Chris, I think, fits Fritz's offense a little bit better, but this is a fun coaching matchup. It's a good time. I already bet UNLV +3 way back when, and the reason that I bet that was because I saw a video of Barry Odom riding a bull. I put pizza money on this thing. It was nothing. But as far as an actual, one-unit play, what I would do right now when I've looked at the matchup, legitimately, yeah, I'm going Houston. Houston, the best number I could find was Houston -1.5, so a full point off of what the market consensus is. But I think the Cougars are going to get this done at home. This is a big spot for Houston, for Willie Fritz to go on and get the ball rolling, because you're going to need one of these. If you're going to be able to get to your win total, you got to be able to get games like this at home. I think the offense is going to be what gets them over the top, because I do think Donovan Smith is more talented than just about anybody that's on UNLV's team other than Ricky White, right? That's my guess on it. So yes, give me Houston minus the 2.5. And we move ahead to game number, what is this, 17? Yes, game 17. Da-da-da. And we're going down to Troy, Alabama. The Troy Trojans are hosting the Nevada Wolfpack, who played just last week. And Nevada looked pretty good against SMU. Jeff Choate, the new coach there, installed that Kansas offense in the offseason. This misdirection, a lot of motion, counter stuff. SMU's defense was over-aggressive, couldn't get them off the field, and yeah. I don't think they need Chubba Purdy to be good. I think the guy they got back there at quarterback is good right now. However, you got that game where you lose it at the last minute at home last week. You've already played. Now you got to go from Nevada all the way to Lower Alabama. And Troy has just been sitting there waiting, and Gerard Parker is the new coach there. The total on this is 45.5. Troy favored by 9.5. That is the consensus pretty much everywhere. But you can get numbers all over the place. If you like Nevada, you can get a 13.5 out there, which is wild to me that it is that far off of the market. But you can also get an 8.5 if you like Troy. And that's the direction that we're going to go here. Troy was pretty good last year. They are dead last in an adjusted returning production. But I think that they got some good pieces. If you go and look at their roster, which, by the way, let me go ahead and recommend CFB Winning Edge. You can go to the number 2, Canton, CANTON.com. And look, you got to pay a subscription fee, but it is well worth it because Nick does a fantastic job keeping those rosters updated on a week-to-week basis. You will know what the depth chart is. You'll know what the experience level is. You'll know how many snaps they play, all that kind of stuff. You'll be able to figure all that stuff out. And I like what Troy's got. Part of me wonders if Nevada kind of put everything out there to be able to get that win against SMU last week. If they did, Troy's going to know what they're doing. I'm interested. Do I think Gerard Parker is great? No. But I do think that Troy at home in week 1 against a not super talented Nevada team, I think that they can cover this number. So give me Troy minus the 8.5 on that one. Next up, I'm writing all my times down so we can do the chapters on YouTube. You guys know what we're doing. I feel like I'm breaking the fourth wall by explaining to you exactly how I do this show because it is a one-man show. And if you want to like the video, that's going to help me out. So do that and tell your friends about it. But again, let's talk about Southern Miss at Kentucky. It's in Lexington, Saturday night. And next week, Kentucky has got to play South Carolina. That's a big SEC spot. I don't think there is a single coach on the planet that dislikes Will Hall. Nobody likes to run the score up on this guy. And that is not my game. There's my game. Mislabeled. What do you know? Okay, anyway. Everybody likes Will Hall, right? Yes, Kentucky is significantly more talented. But that number is 27.5 consensus right now, so that's the market number. 49.5 is the total on this. My number on it is 20. There's nothing that says that Kentucky would not cover 27.5, right? Other than the fact that my numbers just seem to like G5 schools for whatever reason this year. And obviously, the power ratings and whatnot will get adjusted as we move along. But still, a lot of love for the G5s. I think that this is going to be a short game. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Brock Vandergriff throwing the football all over the place. Yes, Bush Hamden is coming in, but Bush Hamden also understands how to utilize running backs and how to utilize an offensive line. He will keep the game short, in my opinion. These are all get-out-of-Dodge kind of games. And that's what they're going to do. I expect Southern Miss to be able to cover. I found a 28 out there. That is a key number. 4 touchdowns. 38-10 sound reasonable? I mean, that sounds good to me. So if I can do that, that's a push. I think it could be even closer than that. Give me a 38-14. Whatever it is, run the ball, run the clock. I think Kentucky does that. Mark Stoops does that. They are much more worried about South Carolina next week as opposed to Southern Miss this week. They're going to win the game. It just depends on what score they want to name it. And I think that's what they're going to do here. So give me Southern Miss plus 28. All right, we got 2 more games, and then we'll do a recap. New Mexico at Arizona. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. New Mexico looked pretty good last week against Montana State up until that fourth quarter, right? Gave up 21 unanswered in that fourth quarter to lose the game outright. Heartbreaking loss at home in game number 1 for Bronco Mendenhall and, of course, the offensive coordinator Jason Beck there. Arizona been sitting back, waiting. Brand new head coach, Brent Brennan. You got Dino Babers in there as the new offensive coordinator. Defense was actually pretty decent last year for Jed Fish and company. They are number 46 in adjusted returning production. They kept Noah Fafita, the quarterback there. It's a pretty big number on this, 31.5 with a total of 58.5. And you know that I've been taking some pretty big underdogs to be able to stay within a certain number. But I think we've all heard the stat by now about how ridiculous. It's like 63% on FBS teams covering against other FBS teams that have played the week before. If you have not played and you're playing a team that already has played, you're hitting like 63% against the spread. I think Arizona is going to come out. Yes, my number is less because, again, my number's like G5 teams for whatever reason this year. But I think that Arizona is going to cover, and I found a 30 out there. Again, shop your numbers, but I found a 30 for Arizona. I think they're going to put up a lot of points. I think this offense is going to start clicking right off the bat, and this defense for New Mexico is not great. Montana State made them look foolish with backup running backs. So, if that is the case, I think Arizona's going to run the ball some. I also think that Arizona is going to throw it and make sure that they are clicking on all cylinders before the Friday night game in week 3 when they go to Kansas State. So, they're not going to show a whole lot. It'll still be vanilla stuff, but I think they will throw the ball a little bit because Brent Brennan and Dino Babers want to do good stuff. And Dino likes to play fast. And if you play fast, you're going to get more plays in. So I will side with Arizona minus 30 on this one. All right, next one up and last one for today. Wyoming is hosting Arizona State. And currently, the market has it Arizona State minus 6.5. Total of 48.5 on this one. Okay. I like Kenny Dillingham a lot. His OC is Marcus Arroyo, who was at UNLV. Jay Sawville was the defensive coordinator at Wyoming. He takes over as not the offensive coordinator. He takes over as the head coach. He is still going to be involved somewhat with the defense. Aaron Bowl, who is Craig Bowl's son, is going to be taking over as DC. Wyoming was able to handle UNLV almost with no issue when Marcus Arroyo was at UNLV. They got that offense down. They knew what they were doing. Is Wyoming the most talented team in the country? Absolutely not. Arizona State, somehow, some way, you look at that 247 talent composite, and they are number 30 in the talent composite. Wyoming is number 122. But Wyoming has a bunch of dudes that fit into a system that Jay Sawville is going to continue to run at Wyoming. My number on this is actually Arizona State minus 1.6, so way off the market here. And I was able to find a Wyoming plus 7.5 because I think it's going to keep steaming the opposite direction. I think that people think Arizona State is going to handle this, and it reminds me so much of Texas Tech going to Wyoming to start last year, and they had way more talent, and they seemed to be the way better team, and they were a Big 12 dark horse, and blah, 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 blah. And Wyoming was able to handle them because they've got a system, because they believed, and it is an absolute home field advantage for Wyoming in Laramie. So give me Wyoming plus the 7.5. I feel good about it. I feel great about Wyoming this weekend. Hopefully you do too. All right, let's recap it. I'll read off the whole sheet to you. Give me Florida Atlantic plus 14, Western Michigan plus 24.5. Oh, I didn't write my time down. Of course I didn't. Let's try it again. Try the recap again. And if you want to go back through the chapters, you can do that. Florida Atlantic plus 14 on Friday. Western Michigan plus 24.5 also on Friday. Vanderbilt at home plus 13.5 against Virginia Tech. Maryland minus 20 against UConn. I like Kent State plus 24.5 at Pitt. I will take Akron plus 50.5 against Ohio State. Colorado State plus 33.5 against Texas. I will take FIU plus 21.5 against Indiana. Eastern Michigan plus 2.5 against UMass. I like Syracuse minus 17.5 at home against Ohio. Northwestern minus 3 at home against Miami of Ohio. Georgia Southern plus 13 at home against Boise. Old Dominion plus 21 at South Carolina. South Alabama minus 5 at home against North Texas. Alabama minus 31.5 against Western Kentucky. Houston minus 1.5 at home against UNLV. Troy minus 8.5 at home against Nevada. I like Southern Miss plus 28 at Kentucky. I like Arizona minus 30 at home against New Mexico. And I will take Wyoming plus 7.5 at home against Arizona State. What a wonderful ride it has been. And look at that, under 45 minutes, at least as far as recording time goes. But we're going to tag on the outro in just a minute. But look, do me a favor. Go sign up at bettingcfb.com. Make sure that you are watching the BetUS College Football Show every Tuesday and Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We do that one live. It's a good time. And along with that, check out 3 Dog Thursday. It's right here on the channel. Comes out every Thursday afternoon. And, follow me on X, @GaryWCE. We're looking forward to keeping this going. I am so excited. Let's hit some more milestones here with the channel. Let's keep growing this thing. Tell your friends about it. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the podcast as well. But boy, I'm so excited for college football to be back. Hopefully you guys are as well. We'll see you again on the next one. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless college football. And hopefully all of your tickets cash this week. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter @GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.